Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Let me get this camera straight. How's everybody doing? Guess what? It's another dreary day in Ohio. I got a window right outside here behind the camera. Gives me some good light, and it's gloomy AF again. I think every weekend that I do these live videos, it's gloomy, but it's pretty much winter in Ohio. What's going on, Sergio? I'll be on usually my live videos. I'm on for about an hour, so if I miss your question, post it up again. If I'm unable to get to your question, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Send me a DM. I'd be happy to answer your questions. What's going on, Raphael? Appreciate you guys' support. Just a heads up, the new year is coming, and I am giving out a free first month of coaching. Thanks, David. You too. A free first month of coaching. It's basically 4 months for the price of 3. If you're interested in coaching, weight loss coaching, muscle building, strength building coaching, send me a message. You can send me a message on Facebook, or you can send me a message on Instagram at Ben the Barman. Just send me a DM. What's going on, Brett, Matthew, Derek, Jeff, everybody? Appreciate you guys joining in. I'll be here for about an hour. If you are new to the live video, I'm here every single week, 10 a.m. Saturday morning. I think I missed last weekend. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate it. Derek is one of my clients. What's going on? O'Neill, Scott, Keith. Keith, we're diving into the questions. Let it rip, guys. Happy holidays to all of you. If my voice goes, I've had some sinus thing for the last 3 weeks. Has been annoying as heck. Keith says, what's your opinion on intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is, in my opinion, I'm just going to give you my opinion. If you're trying to build muscle, it's probably not the best way to go. You probably want to get some protein during the day. I tried intermittent fasting without protein during the day for about 3 or 4 years, and I found that I lost some muscle mass. And some people don't like to hear that, but that's just my personal experience. When I added in about 50 grams of protein during the underfeeding, what is considered the underfeeding window, my muscle mass went up. Now, intermittent fasting is something that's really good when you're trying to lose weight, because you end up saving more of your calories for later in the day. And that's typically when a lot of us like to eat more. So it's not a miracle fat loss program, but it does help for certain people. And if you're going to use it for muscle building, you really need to make sure you're getting in enough calories in that nightly window. All right, guys, if I missed your questions, just post them up again. We got them coming in fast and furious. Dave, good morning, Steve. Thanks for doing these. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate your support. Sergio Gomez is 100 reps per body part too much? 100 reps per body part? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My typical chest work each week lately has been 3 to 4 sets of bench, averaging about 15 reps per set. That's 45 to 60 reps just on bench. And then I go to do 2 to 3 sets of push-ups. I'm doing other things, dumbbell bench. 100 reps is definitely not too much. It's probably a little bit, I don't know, that's about 10 sets of 10 reps. That's probably pretty normal. Maybe a little, just a hair light, but 100, 120 reps is pretty good. Pert, 76 user. Steve, how would you progress intensity in a basic rep goal routine when you start to get stuck? More sets to the same goal. Now, stuck is something we have to analyze. If you make no progress on any sets in 4 weeks, that's being stuck. If you're only adding a rep on one set, you're not stuck. You're probably an intermediate, and that's probably normal progress. Now, if you are stuck, you don't want to. I see a lot of guys dropping weight and resetting and trying to build back up. In my opinion, I would rather see you drop the weight and try to do more reps. Okay, so if you're doing say 225 on bench and you haven't seen any progress at all in the last 4 to 6 weeks, I'll drop it down to 205 and I'll try to do more reps per set. So if you're using the rep goal system, I would just bump up the rep goal and drop the weight a little bit. So it's okay to drop the weight. Just increase the rep goal or the number of reps per set. It's easier to progress on a relatively lighter weight, and you're still building strength, you're still building muscle. So I hope that helps. Let's see here. Scott, also doing intermittent fasting myself. Question for you, Steve. What are your thoughts on training back muscles 2 to 3 times a week? You can absolutely do it. The only reason I don't like 3 times a week is just because it's tedious, all the warm-up sets. And back really requires just a solid battery of compound movements, deadlifts, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, all that kind of good stuff, and really requires some focused warm-up work. So if you like doing that stuff, excuse me, if you like training back 3 times a week, absolutely. Just make sure you're not doing too much volume in each workout. And you also have to be really focused on driving your elbow back instead of pulling on your back work, so you don't put too much strain on your biceps, because if you're going to be training your back that frequently, you really need to make sure you're pulling correctly. You're driving your elbow back and taking care of your bicep, because you don't want to strain or fatigue your biceps and risk injury or tears. Matthew, is it possible to overtrain by doing too much exercise in a workout? Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No. You're just as likely to get struck by lightning. Overtraining is something people focus about way too much. When I was in the military, we were going 16, 18, 20 hours a day. No overtraining. The body would recover with enough food. When I was in sports like wrestling, they would absolutely slaughter us, and we'd recover because we had enough food. It's very, very difficult to overtrain. The real risk in lifting is overworking movement patterns, doing too much of the same movement pattern over and over and over and over again. That's the real risk, really, in any physical activity. If you're a big guy like me and you go out and run 5 times a week, and I was running a lot, I started to feel my hips. They didn't feel good, my Achilles tendon. So don't worry about overtraining. That's extremely unlikely. You have to really more worry about overuse injuries. Raphael, took me 3 weeks to figure out how to translate Eastern time to Europe. Sorry, man, but I'm glad you got it figured out. Brett says, why don't we see Fiona anymore? We are working like a dog. I mean, Fiona is, this is the back end of her business, and I use it for training clients. And you can see my whiteboard over there that I do videos with. She's out there doing a sewing lesson right now. Last night, she did a tea party, a birthday party she does at her business. So she's just slammed with work. And we've been talking about doing videos on Instagram, occasionally on fat loss topics, but we haven't got around to it yet. Let's see, Lightning. Steve, what are your thoughts on sandbags as a supplement to barbell lifts? I like any of that stuff. I mean, I like fun types of physical activity. I mean, people will ask, is that type of stuff optimal? Well, if you're just going for straight muscle building, there's certainly other things you can do that are better. But as a conditioning movement, as a supplementary or assistance type of exercise, there's a lot of great stuff you can do with a sandbag. You just got to get creative. You can use it as a finisher. You can use it as a conditioning tool. You can use it as a finisher and a conditioning tool. So if you like it, find a way to integrate it in your workout. Absolutely. Mads, what push-ups will push-ups carry over to the bench press? That's a very good question that I wish I had a magical answer for, but I will say this. I know a lot of really strong benchers that can't do a lot of push-ups. I was one of them. When I was 346 pounds, and I have my bench videos here on this channel, you can search bench 500 and you can watch the video. So I'm not BSing you with fake lifts. I did a 500-pound slingshot bench, and I had 346 pounds, and I could barely do a couple push-ups. I like doing push-ups because I find I like to build up everything I can in the upper body. And I find with myself and my clients that even when they get their bench strong, their body weight strength isn't exactly decent. It's not as good as it could be. So that tells me there's some kind of a weakness there. So will push-ups help a bench press? That's debatable. But if you have a weakness and bringing it up by doing a couple sets of push-ups a week, you're doing nothing but good things. You're increasing the likelihood that it'll help. You're building up a weakness, and will that help on the bench press? Well, it certainly won't hurt, and it only costs you a couple minutes a day. Adam, Steve, I asked this before, but could you explain pushing sets to the limit that you subscribe to? Absolutely. When you're doing lat pull downs, okay? Doing lat pull downs, pushing a set to the limit. I tell people you stop a set when your form starts to break down or when you feel like you're going to fail on the next rep. So you're going along. The first couple of reps are really easy. And then you hit the struggle bus reps where you're like, okay, this is difficult. And then on lat pull down, the reps you hit where you're just kind of like, oh my God, that was sloppy as heck, and I don't think I can get another rep in. Then you might do one with a little bit more English. You could stop there. Pushing sets to the limit is basically just taking them as far as you can, but not going to failure. If you feel like on lat pull downs that you're losing your strength and you're getting right here and you're just not able to lock it out, that's time to stop the set. What you want to do is progress safely in that type of using that type of scheme. That's a really good thing for guys in their first 12 to 18 months to focus on. And I'm not sure if that helped, but you can kind of tell when you have reached your limit. It's easier on bench press because the bar just stops moving. But on back work, you can kind of tell when you just start losing speed on that rep when it's about halfway up or halfway to your chest. What's going on, Ben on Adventures? Just checking in. My 6-day-a-week full body is still doing good. Absolutely. That's wonderful, man. Just keep killing it. Raphael, are leg extensions as bad as people say? I really like the exercise. You know what? There's so much hype, and you guys know I just talked about this yesterday on certain movements. I've been doing leg extensions my whole life. I like them. Some people, they just don't feel good for. Some people they feel awful. If they feel awful to you, don't do them. I like them. I've never seen, upright rows scare me a little bit more because of the impingement issue and all that kind of stuff. But, with that said, leg extensions, I've never seen anybody get an injury from leg extensions. Seriously, there's so many other exercises that are more inherently dangerous than leg extensions. And if we start to rule out dangerous exercises, if we're going to fear leg extensions to the point where we don't do them, and this is just my opinion, you can call me an idiot if you'd like, then we might as well rule out exercises that are far more dangerous, like squats and deadlift and bench press and maybe barbell rows because they're strenuous on the lower back. And who knows, pull-ups or chin-ups, you might tear a bicep. Let's be real here. Physical activity is inherently dangerous. Just be smart about it and listen to your body. And be rational when you process this stuff. Don't just take the opinion of one person. Look at other people and what they're doing, and pay attention. Are people getting injured on leg extensions? When's the last time you went on Instagram and somebody told you about their leg extension injury? And somebody's going to dismiss this, but part of rational thinking is processing the big picture, scientific information, physiology, and the real world. So processing that for myself, I just don't find it very dangerous. I don't find them that dangerous. All right. Sorry about the long ramble. Dave says push-ups definitely carry over. Yeah, they certainly can. There's no reason not to do a couple a week. Joseph G. Hey, Steve, what exercises would you use to strengthen your lower back to help prevent injury? The two things I would do most to work on your lower back or to strengthen it is to make sure your squat and deadlift form are good. Obvious answer, but that is the best defense against a weak lower back or a strained lower back because so many people do not have good squat and deadlift form. So you need to keep working on that. And if you need help, I provide a form assessment over at my website, Super Living Today. And while I'm talking about it, I have a free first month of coaching. For those of you just tuning in, free first month of coaching It's 4 months for the price of 3, but the first month is free. Head over to @BenTheBarman on Instagram or message me on Facebook, and I'll give you more information. So, strengthening the lower back beyond getting your squats and deadlifts fixed. Maybe something just like back extensions. Those were something we did back in the day that were pretty decent, a pretty decent movement, and you could really feel those the next day. 2, 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps if you can find some kind of a back extension station. If not, you could do the old school good morning. Just keep that lower back tight. Don't let that lower back round. If you're going to do one of those, a good morning where your legs are more together and you got like a barbell on your, traps or whatever, just make sure when you go down that you're not allowing your lower back to round. Right. I just message all my clients, letting them know that I'll be on YouTube live for an hour, but some of them really don't follow YouTube, so they were blowing up my phone. Let's see. Turbo, is 5 minutes warm up enough before lifting? The purpose of activity before you lift is to basically get the blood flowing and raise your body temperature. So 5 minutes is usually enough, unless you're in a real cold gym environment, and then you might want to do 10 minutes of really light walking or light cardio. Madeline Lucas, what's your thoughts on Bill Davis's Brutally Huge author? I am not familiar with that book or that. I'm not familiar with Brutally Huge. I'd love if you could send that to me via DM on Instagram @BenTheBarman. I'd like to take a look and get more information. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Dave, Steve, I can't feel my lats during my body weight rows, pull-ups. What are some cues for that? Body weight rows or pull-ups. The cue is to, at the same time, think about an MMA fight. Okay, if you got a guy behind you, you're not going to pull up here with your hand to punch him. Okay, you're going to drive your elbow back. That's far more powerful. So I tell people when they're doing back work or pull-up work, concentrate on driving the shoulder and the elbow back at the same time. You generate speed, and if you do that slowly, you can feel that lat, you can feel that contraction, and you're taking the bicep. You're taking more of the bicep out of the movement. So I hope that helps. Raphael, how to build a huge traps like yours. It seems traps and biceps are the two weak areas. Most people go too weak, too mind muscly on traps. Most people. They're trying to do, they're not going heavy enough. The traps are one of the strongest muscle groups in the human body. Even if you can't deadlift 400 pounds, you can probably hold 600 pounds right here in a standing position, and your traps will help keep your arms and your shoulders attached to your body. They're a pretty strong muscle group. So I like to do it with volume. One of the challenges of training your traps, sorry, I got my clients blowing up my phone. Some of them don't know where YouTube is. I'll try to educate them more on that. The traps, one of the issues with working the traps is that you don't get a lot of time under tension doing this. So one way I'm not a huge proponent of trying to worry about time under tension because it naturally falls into place on most exercises, but the traps are one of the exceptions. When you're doing trap work, you don't get a lot of time under tension, so I like to do more reps. So I like to do volume, and one of the things I recommend is slapping 225 or 315 on a barbell and just doing 15, 20 rep sets or doing a 50 rep burnout. Get a lot of volume in. And other than deadlifting, you can do things like farmer's carries, but that's a really good place to start. Make sure you get enough volume and don't just do this mind muscly stuff for your traps. I mean, come on now. The traps are a strong muscle group. That will only work if you're getting in enough volume and you're using progressive overload to make them stronger. Sergio, so the 3x10 is not enough volume to trigger optimal hypertrophy. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Sergio. I didn't say 3x10 is not enough volume to trigger optimal hypertrophy. I'm not really sure what you're talking about there. You'll have to clarify. James Pierce, I'd like to try a bench press program, 3x10, 3x5, 3x10, 1x20, as part of chest and arms day, then a back day followed by a leg day. Should I add a dedicated shoulder day or overhead press? Yeah, you need shoulder work. The upper body, you have opposing movements. You have a horizontal press and a horizontal pull or row. You have a vertical press and a vertical pull or row. You need to balance those equally, or at least reasonably equally. So you definitely need an overhead press. If not, you're going to develop imbalances or strength imbalances, things that can mess up the shoulder girdle over a long period of time and can contribute to messing up your shoulder health. Mads, thanks for the reply. Been struggling pushing more than 140 pounds for reps for years, but I have a 400-pound deadlift. I can do a max set of 30 reps on push-ups, and I weigh 190. Mads, I would check out my bench press book. You can check that out over at Super Living today. It's under the courses. It's only $7.99, but I have a lot of good bench press workouts and some stuff that can probably really help you out. Titan, hang cleans and shrugs are both great trap exercises. Absolutely, they both are. No doubt about that. Vinny, I'm new to your channel. Like what I see so far. Thanks for your support, Vinny. I'm just a dude that likes to lift. So no fancy cameras, no fancy cutscenes, no fancy graphics. Just lifting. Just lifting. Raphael, I've had some shoulder issues lately, and it got me thinking about long-term shoulder health. What are some tips you can provide to preserve the shoulders? Good question. Stop training heavy or intense on your overhead presses. And I'm not telling you to go light, but what I mean is try not to do sets under 8 reps on overhead presses. I don't feel, personally, and this is my opinion, that low rep overhead press work is good for shoulder health for the average individual. You want to make sure your bench press form is locked down, is solid. You need to become obsessed with your bench press form. If your shoulders are a little bit spotty, using something like a slingshot like I use will help you in the long run. Some people don't understand that. Some people think it's cheating, but a slingshot can be a good thing for shoulder health. You also want to avoid lifts that put the shoulders in awkward or unnatural positions. Some of them, I find lifts like single arm side lateral raise where it just feels awful and not a great leverage position. I don't particularly like to do them. That's why I do a bulldozer lateral when I'm doing single arm raises. But shoulder health, really, you need to get everything. You need to balance your upper body strength. Some people don't take their shoulders seriously enough. They're training. You need to get your shoulders strong, and you need to get your back strong. You need to balance everything up in your upper body so you have a really good, strong upper body, and you have a balanced shoulder girdle. Everything is just kind of where it should be strength-wise. And that's really it. I mean, the biggest thing that impacts shoulders over time for most lifters, and I'm just trying to think this through, is really bad bench form. Excuse me. So you really want to get your bench form locked down. Let's see. How can arm-based baritone? Arm-based baritone. How often can we train abs or shoulders? You can train them every day if you want, but it's not necessary. They're smaller muscle groups. Generally, smaller muscle groups, you don't really need to do a lot of work. Forearms, you don't really need to do a lot of forearm work. People ask me, I got monster forearms. People ask me what I did for my forearms. Nothing. If you get strong on barbell lifts over time, barbell and dumbbell lifts over time, you're going to build good forearms. But beyond that, twice a week is plenty, really. I mean, anything beyond that's probably unhealthy obsession. Same for abs. You don't need to train abs more than a couple times a week. It's not going to give you abs. So just focus on getting your abs strong rather than overtraining them. Let's see. Dave says, Mad, okay. Brett, I've been told you will go into catabolic state after about an hour and a half of weight training. And this is true. Anybody that says anybody that says that has really never played a sport in their life. I'm just being honest. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not trying to start an internet fight, but anybody that says that has never like played a sport in their life, never been in the military, never done a physical labor job. I mean, let's be real. There are real people out there doing real physical hard work, and then they get done and then they're going to lift. That was me for a long time as a machinist. So no, it's not true. It's not. It's not true. The body's not that fragile. Anybody that says that just understand they've never had a physical labor job. They've never been in the military. They've never played a sport. They don't understand what the body can do and how the body can recover. Let's see. Ben on Adventure. Listening to this broadcast as I work out. Smash that workout, Ben. Perseverance. What is your best advice for continuing to get stronger on the bench while being on a maintenance or even calorie deficit? Well, first off, I'm not a wizard. And being in a calorie deficit, if I could teach anybody how to get stronger on a calorie deficit on the bench press, I would be a pretty special, unique snowflake. I would be a special flower, and I would have some Harry Potter magic. Look, the only way to continue to build strength on the bench while in a calorie deficit is if you haven't built a fair amount of strength already. What's fair amount of strength? Well, I'm just tossing out some general ideas here, so don't treat these as rules. But if your bench isn't a 225 by 5, if you're in a calorie deficit, you can probably continue to build bench press. It's possible for you to continue to build bench press strength while you are losing weight. Possible. I know it's not likely. I coach a lot of people that are in a calorie deficit. Most of them lose strength while in a reasonable calorie deficit on their bench press. They're losing strength. A few of them, 20%, are gaining strength. So it's really hard to say. All you can do is focus on what you can control in the gym, and that's your workouts. And know that when the weight is off, then you can get back to normalcy. But all you can do is control your effort in the gym and have a reasonable diet. That's all you can do in life. Focus on what you can control. And if the outcome is a little bit less than desired, know that the weight loss is going to end eventually. You're going to be in a healthier position in life, and then you can come back and get stronger. And I wish I had more information for you beyond that, but I simply don't. That's just reality. Chuck, if you already have a knee issue, leg extensions can be tweaky. If you have a knee issue, just to be fair, Chuck, and I agree with you, if you have a knee issue, any leg exercise can be tweaky depending on the nature of the leg exercise. Charles, vitamins and supplements for men over 40. Men over 40 tend to have slower metabolisms, which means they eat less food. Men over 40 tend to have lower human growth hormone levels, and that's just called somatopause. At age 35, your human growth hormone levels start to slow down a bit. Your production is slowed down. You don't have as much HGH in the body. Men over 40 tend to put on, visceral fat. Men over 40, what they need is activity. What they need is sunlight. And beyond that, once they have that in place, they need to make sure they're sleeping well. And if they're not, something like a sleeping aid or something to help them sleep is a good idea. They need to do anything they can to keep their testosterone levels more regulated. And sometimes that comes down to diet. And you might be eating less as a man over the age of 40. So you have to be really aware of what your possible deficiencies could be. You might need more vitamin D. You might need more vitamin C. It's hard to say, but I would make sure your vitamins and minerals are in check. Performance-wise, you can't go wrong with creatine. Creatine is a tried, true, tested, and inexpensive supplement. and any kind of performance boosting, anything that brings the possibility of boosting performance at a low cost is something you should consider. If you are doing creatine and you don't mind supplementing 3 to 4 times a day with beta alanine as well, do that, because beta alanine and creatine amplify each other. If you're not getting in enough fats or you're a little bit lower on your calories because of age, you probably need to consider something like fish oil. And you really need to make sure that you're getting your protein intake in. That's really the base for guys. So I'm sorry for the long ramble, but I was just trying to think it through. Raphael, what happened with the loose skin surgery? Didn't have it. Looking to have it in March or April of next year. With the start of our businesses, we just didn't have time to get to Colorado. We just were swamped. My wife started a business. It was absolutely swamped, and we just could not leave Ohio to go to Colorado and get that done. Ben on Adventures, I think the anti-leg extension thing has really been driven home via Athlean X. I haven't seen his opinion on it. I respect Athlean X, but at the end of the day, as an irrational thinker, and I hope he would probably respect my opinion. I just, for muscle building, he's more of a performance coach, I believe. And, for me, for muscle building, I love doing leg extensions. I can really get a good feel on the quads. One of the best exercises I feel where I can feel the quads. So, as men, I'm not ever going to engage in all the bullshit that we see on YouTube. We can agree to disagree. And that doesn't mean I don't respect them. Because at the end of the day, leg extensions are not something that we should go to war over. It's just an exercise. Okay, let me get my client's thing off here. Abbas, BHUD, is a pair of 70-pound dumbbells enough to build muscle at home? You know what? You can give me any amount of resistance, and I will find a way to make it work. So if I only had a 70-pound pair of dumbbells, what I would do on dumbbell rows, on dumbbell bench press, I would work up to 20 rep sets. I would probably work up to 5 20-rep sets. When that became easy, I'd start to restrict the rest in between sets to about a minute. So you can maximize those dumbbells by doing more volume and then by decreasing rest in between sets. If you get to the point on dumbbell bench press where you are doing 70-pound dumbbells for 5 sets of 20 with a minute rest in between, and that's easy, then superset the 20 rep set with a 20 rep set of push-ups, then rest a minute and go back. You can really get creative all kinds of ways. You can get creative all kinds of ways at home. It just takes a little bit of focus. And if you can get to 5 sets of 20 reps on dumbbell bench press, supersetted with push-ups, with 20 reps of push-ups, that's probably all you'd ever really need to build a lot of muscle at home. So yeah, absolutely, you can do it. Just got to get creative. Let's see. Only Deadlift. Hey, Steve, just wanted to say hello. Maybe ask too. Lately started watching your channel. I appreciate you joining, watching the channel. I appreciate anybody who takes time out of their day to watch the big, hairy, ugly dude. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of a strain on the eyes. Perseverance. I cannot go parallel when I squat because of my mobility. Do you think mobility stretches, or do you think good stretch? Look, Perseverance, I got to be honest with you. I can, excuse me. Let me grab some coffee here. I can fix just about anybody's squat. And when somebody tells me they have mobility issues and can't get to depth, I want to see if I can fix that first. So somebody might be able to fix that for you. You just need proper coaching. And you're asking me if mobility can help. Mobility work certainly can help. I'm not ruling that out at all. But what I want you to consider is the fact that guys like me or anybody that's experienced in coaching the squat coaching people on the platform can probably fix your squat or help your squat. So don't rule out that kind of assistance. Let's see. Lightning, Steve. Brett Contreras recently made a video stating the hip thrust should be a main lift and that power lifts hurt a lot of people. You know what? I don't want to get into it. The hip thrust shouldn't. This is my opinion. No disrespect to Brett. All right, no disrespect, man. This is not a personal attack on Brett. This is just my opinion. I think hip thrusts and the food chain should not be a main lift. Okay, if you want to do them as a finisher or whatever, I like Dimble deadlifts better, to be honest with you. And you don't have to load up 800 pounds on a barbell and do all that witchcraftery in the middle of the gym floor and look like a goofball. And you know what? You do look like a goofball a little bit. I mean, come on, you do. You look like a barbell humping goofball. You do. I mean, I know it's not politically correct to say in this day and age, and somebody will get upset, but you look like a barbell humping goofball. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's not effective. But honestly, I just think there's many other things you can do that are equally as effective, that don't require as much time, equally or more effective than that. I mean, let's be honest, guys and girls doing squats and deadlifts, 90% of them aren't even driving their hips forward to lock out their squats and deadlifts. So then you're adding hip thrust to people that aren't even doing squats and deadlifts right and using their hips. I mean, there's a food chain, there's a priority, there's some things we really need to think through as far as programming. And you know what? I don't agree with him at all. I don't. I really don't. And think for yourself. I mean, for muscle building, hip thrusts, nah. Okay? Just no. And for powerlifting, I think there's a lot of other things you can do in powerlifting that are equal or better. Does that mean you shouldn't do them? No. It's up to you to decide whether they have value or not. I just think there's a lot of exercises that are equal. I'd rather do Dimble deadlifts, to be honest with you. I find them more challenging, and you don't have to hump a barbell. Perseverance. Cable flies or dumbbell flies on the floor, which is better for chest? I find with dumbbell flies that my shoulders don't always like them. But here's the issue. When I do dumbbell flies, people tend to do them more with their arms flared than they do bench press. So one of the things I strongly recommend, let me see if I can get my big fat arm in here, is when you're doing cable fly or dumbbell flies, make sure you're not doing them with arms flared. Because we all know when it comes to bench press that that's kind of a no-no. The same thing goes for flies. I find sometimes I'm up here when I'm doing flies, arms are more flared, and I feel that strain in my shoulder. I can feel it now just doing it like that. So I make sure I bring the elbows down here, and I'm not sure if you can see that, and I kind of scoop up, like with my flies. You know what I'm saying? You have kind of that 45-degree angle when you're doing your dumbbell flies. I can really feel that contraction right there. Don't do them like this, okay? I don't really feel that's a good way to do them on the shoulders. Do them more like this. You know what I'm saying? Elbows at about 45 degrees. I don't feel, if you're doing them correctly, like that, cable flies or dumbbell flies, it's going to be your choice. So just do them correctly either way. Let's see. Been on an adventure. Ever since I really started focusing on my elbows, dumbbell pullovers are really hitting my lats good. That's awesome. You probably feel them in your triceps as well. Perseverance. Do you think trap size is genetic? Because the only trap exercise I do are upright rows and cleans, and people say I have traps. Or traps are the best features on my body. Any body part can be genetic. I mean, I have big quads and big traps, and I know people that are just as strong and train just as hard as me that don't have big traps, or triceps. So they absolutely can be genetic. Anything can be genetic, just like calves. Let's see, Raphael, how to get good at pull-ups. Currently, I can only do half a pull-up. Have them pull up. If you can't do one, you're kind of in a bad position. But to get good at pull-ups or body weight work, you really need to do that multiple times a week. Now, if you can't do a pull-up, what you probably need to do is start doing band-assisted pull-ups. Get really strong with a light band, the lightest band you can. You're going to have to wrap it around your ankles or whatever they do, wherever you want to wrap it around. Just make sure it doesn't snap up into the old, into your old boys, if you know what I'm saying. But do them multiple times a week. And what you want to do is you want to do 2 to 3 minute blocks with the band. And you set a timer, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. Do as many band-assisted pull-ups as you can in that block. Now, let's say you're using a 2-minute block and you do that 3 times a week. Count your reps up for the week during those 3 2-minute blocks. Next week, do the same thing and try to improve. Next week, do the same thing, try to improve. Next week, do the same thing, try to improve. Volume 3-4 times a week, applied over time, and then keep trying to progress in those blocks. And then when you get to the point where you can do a really light banded pull-up for a lot of reps, then it might be time to try to do them without a band. And I hope that helps. Dizzy, Derizzy, hey, I subbed. Thank you, I appreciate it. Matthew, I know strong triceps can contribute to a strong bench, but are there any other muscle groups you should strengthen as well? Your delts. The delts. Most people do not attack delts with the same passion as they do the bench press. And I've advocated for years doing 2 compound movements for delts per week. And sometimes I say this, and some people, you were thinking I was asking them to rush into a burning building. But I like volume on delt work, 8 to 12 rep sets, doing a barbell and dumbbell variation every week. Get your delt strong. Beyond that, you want to get everything in your upper body strong. The back is something a lot of guys and girls think they're strong at, but they're really not strong at all. And what do I mean by that? And that's probably going to trigger somebody, but 100 pounds, a dumbbell row of 100 pounds by 10 reps, that's not strong, okay? That's not strong. You need to get to at least 150 by 10. That's stronger. That's a good baseline standard. 100 by 10, that's just not good enough. Barbell rows or pendley rows, you need to bring up your strength in that as well. The back is a strong, powerful muscle group, and most people underestimate their potential or how strong they can get on their back. They don't challenge themselves enough on back, just like they don't challenge themselves enough on shoulders. So beyond the shoulders are the next thing you want to get strong when it comes to the bench press. But beyond that, you want to get everything in the upper body strong. Your biceps, your back, everything. Just get everything strong. Let's see. Joey, how do I protect my wallet from my wife? Joey, if your wife is jacking up your wallet, you need to have a come to Jesus talk with her. And if she is not the right woman for you, then you need to have a second come to Jesus talk with her. And if that don't work, then you might need to take her to a little bit of counseling. If that don't work, just give your wallet to me. I'll protect it, I assure you. Charles, mid-level cable flies kill my shoulders. Can you give me some advice on cable chest exercises to use? If you have a TRX, a cable chest exercise, okay, you said cable. I do these with bands. I'm not sure if you can do them single arm. You might be able to scoop more like this, Charles. A scoop will be easier on the shoulders, and you can still feel that chest contraction. So you can get a cable, and you can kind of scoop up and just bring it up in here. You can also do, as a finisher or a kind of an assistance exercise or something you can do, a superset. You can take 2 plates, and I don't have anything handy right now. You can take 2 plates, and you're pushing them together, okay? You do this on an incline bench, it actually feels a little bit better. You're doing it like that. You can do that as a superset. But if cable flies are hurting your shoulders, I would try to scoop them more like this. And if that doesn't work, I would just drop that exercise altogether. All right, let me get some coffee. Chuck Woodward said, forearms do construction. Amen. That's probably my physical labor probably did more for my forearms than any gym work. I'm going to be on for about another 15 minutes, guys. Just a reminder, if I miss your questions, follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman and send your question there. I answer every question. Just a reminder as well, coaching. First month is free. First month is free. It's 4 months for the price of 3. That's a poem by the Big Hairy Ugly Dude. First month is free. Message me on any platform. Head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Just send me a message. I got room for about 6 more clients, but they're filling up quickly. Dave. Let's see. Dave was answering Raphael. Charles. Oh, excuse me. Benefits of 4-day upper lower versus 3-day full body. The benefits of doing an upper lower is you're in the gym less amount of time per day, and you don't have to. You're not doing as many warm-up sets. Really, that's about it. I don't like. I find it when you build a reasonable amount of strength, you tend to be in the gym longer on a full body, and it just becomes tedious doing too many exercises on a given day. Just not something I find fun. But beyond that, the main benefit is it's just a little bit easier to get through your workout, and you don't really have many downsides. RXL, the Nintendrone. Your thoughts on Arnold Schwarzenegger's speech that destroyed the internet, where he says he worked out 5 hours a day, then got a job doing construction, destroying the overtraining myth. Arnold, they used to bust balls back in the day and job each other, and he used to play with Lou Ferrigno's head and say he was doing all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he actually was, but I believe it. I was a machinist, and I worked. I worked in the honing. I had to lift 50 to 100-pound blocks all day long. Mostly they were about 50 to 70-pound blocks, but I had to lift them off the end of the rack, lift them out of the hone. Lift them out of the hone, lift them in the washer, lift them out of the washer, lift them in the dipper, lift them out of the dipper, put them in the drying rack, lift them out of the drying rack, bag them. Once they were bagged, I need to put them on a pallet. I mean, I was lifting each block like 10 different times a day. It was just crushing physical labor work. And then I would go home and that's when I started powerlifting. So, your body will adapt. Get in enough food, you'll be fine. It just takes a little bit of time. Death T, what are your thoughts on BCAAs? That's a really hot topic and not something I'm an expert on. The only thing I will say is that it's a supplement that it's amino acids, right? It's branched chain amino acids. I like to take them because I get sick of drinking plain water all the time. When I am out doing a lot of physical labor work, or I am out doing a long hike, or I am, do something crazy like a long run, I'll mix BCAAs and electrolytes in. So I don't know, if that's I don't know if the BCAAs help or hurt at all. It's a hot, it's just a hot discussion. But definitely do your research and ask people smarter than me on supplements. Let's see. Ben on Adventures, I can do 4 handstand push-ups weighing 195. Is that good? If you can do 1 handstand push-up, you're doing good. So, yeah, way to go. Let's see. What's going on, John West? Nathan, do you clench your buttocks to squat? You can when you're locking out. When you are locking out your squat or deadlift, you want to drive your hips forward. And one of the mental cues you can do to achieve that is clenching your butt. Because you clench your butt, your hips are going to go forward. So you can certainly focus on that when you're squatting or deadlifting. David Douglas, lower back pain from hamstring curls. Not uncommon. I've heard of that before. You really want to make sure, first and foremost, on any exercise that's causing lower back stress, that you have it braced during the entirety of the exercise. You also don't want to have it hyperextended if possible. You kind of want to have your spine, your lower back in a neutral position if possible. If they are hurting you, if your lower back is causing you pain while doing so, then I would probably just stop doing the exercise and look for an alternative, because pain in the lower back is not something you want at all. And if you're doing exercises correctly and it's causing you lower back pain, it's time to stop doing that exercise. Toyo Busa. Does it make sense to do 20 plus reps sets after a low rep bench workout? Yeah, absolutely. Volume is rarely a bad thing. Finishers are rare. YouTube locked up. Sorry. YouTube usually does that. I don't think it did it last week, but where were we? Sorry, YouTube locked up. I'm going back. Does it make sense to do 20 plus rep sets after a low rep bench press? Yeah. What I used to do, and I made a video about this, so check it out. I can't remember if it was last week or whatever, but I talked about how I built my bench. I would start with my low rep stuff, and then I would drop weight and do more reps. So absolutely, doesn't hurt. Jonathan, hey Steve, I'm finally able to work out after my jaw surgery 4 weeks ago, and I'm very motivated and hungry to get big and humanly strong as possible. Thanks for all your help. Thank you, Jonathan. Just take things slow and steady. Let the strength come to you, let the muscle come to you, and be relentless with your consistency. If I could give one piece of advice to anybody watching when it comes to diet or lifting, be consistent over time. Be consistent over time. Let the strength come to you. Listen to your body. Just be consistent and be relentless. Sharif, Steve, does isolation movements impede or impact recovery given that you perform your big three lifts? Do they impede or impact recovery? Look, the big lifts are going to be the most taxing, but there are many ways to work the big lifts that aren't necessarily or inherently hard to recover from. You could go in and do a couple 2-rep sets multiple times a week, and that would probably be, it's more mentally challenging to recover from that because you have to go and do it a couple more days. But I mean, there's so many possibilities, but the question, any additional exercise can certainly require additional recovery demands. Isolation exercises are going to be your 80%. They're going to be 80% of the intensity of your workout, not 80% of necessarily the volume, a set volume or rep volume or weight volume, but they're about 80% of your energy, 80% of your effort. And then like isolation lifts are like the extra 10 to 20%, depending on if you're doing like body weight stuff or whatever else, but that's like the 20% stuff. Doing it properly can certainly, slow recovery, but only by a little bit, given or if you are doing your compound movements properly and getting in enough volume. So it's not gonna dramatically change things. 187 bench best bench accessories. Getting your triceps and shoulders strong with compound movements. Those are really your best bench accessories. Not to sound dismissive, but that is the reality. Steve Henry, America is not the greatest country. Steve, thank you for your opinion, and thank you for your insecurity. Steve Henry says Jesus never existed. Thank you, Steve. Might want to take your medication. What's going on, JT? Happy Saturday. Bennett Adventures, is TRX worth it? Considering adding it to my home gym. The TRX, I went without a TRX in training until age 50. And I find it to be one of my favorite things to do. TRX push-ups, TRX rows. You can even do TRX tricep extensions. I love them. I can really feel TRX rows in my lats. I love them as a finisher. I like TRX push-ups more than I like regular push-ups. I just love the way it feels. So the TRX, I got the TRX system connected to my door right there. It's just a ghetto one. It's nothing super expensive because I'm not Donald Trump. I do live in America, which isn't the greatest country in the world, according to Steve Henry. But yeah, they're definitely worth it. And you know, don't get something super expensive, but get something that has good reviews, and just see what you think. Give it a try. Jay Mount, Steve, everyone seems sick. How do we train while sick? Good question. I've been sick with some kind of sinus thing for the last 3 weeks, and it's just fatigued me. I just felt fatigued. When I have a respiratory issue, trouble breathing, I don't personally like to go to the gym. Plus, I don't want to get other people sick. So, your main priority when you're sick is not to get other people sick. I mean, let's be reasonable. Don't get other people sick. Uh, if you have the flu, it depends on the illness. But sometimes, a lot of times, you just need to rest. You just need to get away from the gym, not be afraid that you're going to lose all your gains. It's just part of the process. But there are some illnesses, some sicknesses where I feel okay to train, and you just have to use your best judgment. I mean, it's really as simple as that. But don't be so obsessed about gains and losing gains that you don't rest when your body needs you to rest, because this is about health. So just take care of yourself. Let's see, Matthew. Are there any gym exercises that carry over to real world strength? Sorry, Matthew, I'm not laughing at you, but every exercise in the gym carries over to real world strength. That is real world strength, Matthew. So I'm really not sure what you're asking. When I went into the gym as a weak 18-year-old, and in 18 months I got my squat up to 310 or 315 by, I don't know, 5 or whatever. My bench up to 275. This after 18 months, 275 by 5. I could touch a rim. I could sprint fast. I could crush a baseball. I could wrestle much better. Everything you do in the gym translates over to real world strength. So I didn't mean to laugh at you. I was just confused by the question. I'm not sure if you phrased that properly, but all gym exercises, the execution of gym exercise and progressive overload is real world strength. Wallace, have a great day. You too, Wallace. Jay Mounts forgot to ask, could creatine cause a rise in blood pressure? Not that I'm aware of, but here's the thing. When you take any substance in your body, creatine, and it's you're taking in more water. More water in your temporarily could maybe lead to a short-term increase in blood pressure. I've never heard of it leading to a long-term increase in blood pressure. So no, I really don't think so. I don't think there's any research to back that up. But I would definitely do your own research, because I've never seen anything on it, and I've edited a lot of articles on creatine. So, but I've never seen anything personal. But everybody's an individual. Some things impact people more than others. So if you feel it does, then I would probably not. Joseph, Steve, doing full body 3 to 4 days a week, is 6 sets per body part too much? That's about 18 sets, 18 to 24 sets a week. It's not too much if it's not all isolations. That's pretty high volume, but it can be done. I mean, if you're doing a lot of isolation and body weight stuff after your compound movements, it can be done. I mean, volume of sets really comes down to what the sets are comprised of, what you're using to work those sets. So as long as it's not 20 sets of compound movements, you might be okay. Warren, what to do if your triceps are giving out before chest on the bench? Just get your chest stronger. I mean, you're always going to have something. You're always going to have something that's weaker than something else. The only thing you can do, and I don't like, personally, I don't like focusing on weaknesses. And this might trigger somebody, but I like to treat every body part as if it's a weakness and get everything strong. So you certainly don't want to stop getting your triceps strong, because they're driving your bench lockout. But you want to get them stronger, but you also want to get your chest stronger. The Roo, how many push-ups can you do when you're a big guy, obviously? I never really go above 30%. Usually I do 2 to 3 sets of 20 to 30. that's about all I do down here because, quite frankly, once I reach 30 reps, I get a little bit bored. I could do more when I was in the military and lighter, 175-pound body weight. I could do a lot more reps, obviously, just because I weighed less. But these days, 30 is usually all I do per set. Sisyphus, what's your opinion on dumbbell pullovers? Dumbbell pullovers are a very interesting exercise that can hit your chest, that can hit your back, that can hit your triceps. A lot of people don't understand the function of the long head of the triceps is rotation and extension. So you're going to get some triceps action in there. So don't get upset if you feel tricep soreness after doing pullovers. I like pullovers. I like doing this type of pullover machine for back because I can feel it on my lats. I would really try to focus on your lat contraction when you're doing pullovers. And if you like doing them, use them as like a finisher. Do them more of a high rep finisher. Joan L. Hi from Perth. How's it going, Perth? Let's see. Chris, how often implement the slingshot and overload progression? That's a very difficult question to answer because if you're an old dude like me that's been benching for 33 years, I like using the slingshot just for shoulder health and for overload. But if you're an older dude, you probably want to keep one in your gym bag and just use it as you feel necessary. If you're just a normal dude that's training for strength, you could probably use it. I would probably recommend using it every other week and then doing regular benches or pause benches one week and then slingshot bench the next week. Or you could go in, do your heavy work with slingshot, your real heavy work, and then take it off and do paused or higher up work without. So many ways to do that. Those are two solid ways. RSX 182, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? That was the first question I asked in this video. So just rewind the video to the beginning and that answers the question. Joan L., what's the best way to increase your pull-ups or chin-ups? Just answered that earlier in this video, Joan L. Frequency. I talked earlier in the video, and I can't go over it again. I talked earlier in the video about doing it frequently, and I still got clients blowing up my phone, about doing it frequently in 2-minute blocks. So rewind the video and check that out if you can. Jesse, how would you structure a strength routine doing it full body style 3 days a week? Jesse, check out my book over at Super Living Today called Massive Iron. I've sold thousands and thousands of copies of this book. It provides you with about 18 to 20 programs, a lot of full body routine examples. And that is, again, a Massive Iron over at Super Living Today. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Let's see. Danielle Khan, chin-ups versus pull-ups will both give you the same lat hypertrophy. A chin-up is more bicep focused, and I use it more for the biceps than I do for the lats. When I do a pull-up or a lat pull-down, I concentrate on driving the elbows and shoulders back, and that's for your lats. When I do a chin-up or reverse grip pull-down, I focus on using my biceps. So they're a little bit different exercise. They're not the same exercise. One's more bicep focused and one is more lat focused. Matthew, I meant like functional strength. People who don't go to the gym, but they're very strong in terms of functional strength. But your question was about gym exercises. Every gym exercise gives you functional strength, Matthew. Ben on Adventures. I always appreciate the info. Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Jesse. MC Adams, it's squats and deadlifts. All you need for football is no. You need a well-rounded strength program from head to toe. He does shots, sprints and shuttles, and not burn out or be too sore. You need more than squats and deadlifts for football. You need a well-rounded strength. Is never a bad thing for anybody. Let's see. Death T, what are your thoughts on muscle ups? They look hard, never tried them. I really don't have an opinion on them. And Matthew, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult, but anything you do in the gym is going to lead to functional strength outside of the gym in many different ways. Just focus. Don't make it complicated. Focus on getting the body as strong as possible from head to toe. All right, guys, it's been an hour. I appreciate your support. I'll be back here next Saturday at 10 a.m. If I missed your question, send a DM over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. I answer all questions. A reminder, first month of coaching is free. If you want to get your butt kicked and in gear for the new year, now's the time to do it. Hit me up. It's 4 months for the price of 3. First month is free. And I will help you with weight loss. I'll design a workout for you. I'll help you with your form. It's a complete hands-on coaching service. If you just need some general help, head over to my site, Super Living Today. I do form assessments. I do workout assessments. I do diet assessments. I have all my books and courses, bench press books and workout books and massive iron. I have massive iron t-shirts, massive iron hats, all kinds of good stuff. So go over there and check that out right now. And all right, guys, appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you next week.